Never Forget friends, and welcome to the first episode of Rumble in the Jungle, where we'll be talking about all things elephants, all things Never Forget, and whatever else tickles our trunks. My name's Lara, and I'm joined this week by Never Forget's very own founder and executive director, Ava Lalancette. Ava, welcome. Thank you so much for being the podcast's first guest.
Oh my gosh, Lara, thank you so much for having me on. This is such an honor, and super excited to be here today, and we can talk about Never Forget and the elephants, and there's so much going on for us, and it's such an exciting time. So really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So with this being the first podcast, it's a good opportunity to firstly tell the world a little bit about Never Forget.
Sure. So we were founded in April 2019, so just over a year ago, and we are a US-based nonprofit. We're the only US-based nonprofit that actively has feet on the ground in Thailand, trying to solve the problem that captive elephants are facing today. And there are three areas of our mission. The first area is to improve the lives of endangered Asian elephants. And that means returning them home to their jungle habitat, their natural habitat where they should be. The second part of that is to provide service to the community that we're working in. So through that, we have a community service program, and we go into the school, teach English, and bring them lunch, provide different services for them in the community, and work on different projects that they need. And then the third part of our mission is to build a global community. I have been on teams my entire life. I'm very team oriented, and we're stronger together. That's just the fact of the matter. And so we're really focused on our mission here at the project to make sure that we keep that spirit alive. And we can't do it alone. We need us to all come together as a community to help fix this problem. So that's kind of an overview of what we're doing at the project. Obviously right now we're closed to visitors because of COVID, and we look forward to opening again, hopefully soon at some point. And so that's kind of an overview of what we're doing at the project.
What an intro.
But before we get going and everything, you're new on the team, so at Never Forget. So do you want to talk a little bit about how your involvement came about and kind of your story?
Yeah, sure. So I stumbled across Never Forget on social media, on Instagram actually, probably around about this time last year. And I was really impressed by how unique the Never Forget model was, which I'm sure we'll get into some of that. And I just knew straight away at that point that I had to visit. So I got booked up through the visitor program and flew out to Thailand in January this year to see it all firsthand. And it was honestly such a life-changing thing for me, and I learned so much to the point that it kind of lit a fire in me, and I knew that I wanted to continue to raise awareness and do as much as I possibly could to educate people on what Never Forget's all about, and as you say, the issues that are facing elephants in Thailand and stuff. So, and here I am. I'm delighted to be on the team.
We're so excited to have you, and it's just, connecting with you when you came to the project was just amazing. And you started our first Trucks for Trunks last summer when you summited. At the time we had 7 elephants, right? Yeah. And you summited 7 of the highest Munros in Scotland, 1 for each elephant, which was super exciting for us to watch last summer. So we're really excited to have you, Lara, and look forward to doing some cool stuff. What are you going to be doing for us at Never Forget?
So I will be looking after a couple of things. So the podcast, first and foremost, is this is so exciting, and we've been chatting about this for the last week and a half about how great it is, because it gives us an opportunity and a platform to talk about the things that are important to us, and that kind of ties into this, like what I said about educating people. We have an opportunity here to educate people on a whole bunch of different stuff. So we'll be looking at podcast, also be looking at a YouTube channel where we're going to start looking at educational content, raising awareness, posting things like our fundraisers and all sorts of other cool stuff that's going on across the project. So yeah, I'll be looking at different types of content and how we can engage with more and more people across the world, and get as many supporters in our corner as we can.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and especially now in COVID, I think the work that you're going to be doing for the elephants here is going to be really important, because we're now entering into this new area of how we engage with each other, right? I mean, you're in Scotland, I'm in Seattle in the United States, and we get to sit down and have a conversation together, which is really cool. So I think that the work that you're going to be doing for the elephants is going to be really important, especially before we get back to the project, and there's going to be many months until we're able to open again. So this will be fun to do some new things, since we can't be there right now. So really excited to have you on board, and
enough about me. Actually, tell me a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I have been on teams my entire life, and it's just this mentality that I've had that we are stronger together, as I said before. And I believe in the spirit of teamwork and supporting each other, and inspiring each other to do our best. And I feel like when all of that energy comes together in one group, that's really where the good stuff is for me, and that's where the change happens. So I am really team oriented, team focused, and I am at a point in my life where I am so happy to be in this moment with 5 other people who I just adore, I respect, I love deeply, and just feel so lucky to be in this moment. So what I really focus on for our team at Never Forget is the teamwork that we have, and how we work together, and each one of us plays a very critical role. And I really see myself as a vessel. This whole thing has nothing to do with me, this project. It's about the elephants, and it's about the community. And so I feel very lucky to be in this moment, and to have this opportunity to have an impact on the elephants and on the community. And I feel that this work makes me a better person too. So I learn a lot about myself, and about things that I didn't know about myself before we started this. So it's really a win for everyone, I feel, and I hope the team feels the same way. It's been the biggest challenge of my life. It's also been the most beautiful and rewarding work that I've ever done. And I just feel really lucky to be here. So I really want to thank before we talk any further too, I want to thank our supporters and our donors, and for believing in the spirit of Never Forget, and in the work that we're doing, because as I said, we're all in this together, and that's where the big change is going to happen for elephants.
Definitely. Shout out to the donors and supporters.
Yes.
So
I could not do this without them.
For sure. And obviously, just Never Forget such a huge part of your life. How did the idea come about? What compelled you to start the foundation in the first place?
Sure. Yeah. So I have a job, and I'm a volunteer for Never Forget. So I have not a real job, but a job outside of this. And my life now, since Never Forget, is extremely busy, and it's a lot of fun. But I would go over to Thailand, and I volunteered for a couple of years with another organization, and I met Holly and Maria and Jessica along the way, and we would meet up each year at the same time. We'd meet up again, and then in December 2018, we met up, and we ended up meeting Yo, who is now our project director on site. He manages everything at the project. And we met Yo, and we all just connected immediately. It was like, one of those moments where the stars were totally aligned, and it was really cool. And so Yo said to Maria and I at the time, hey, my cousin lives out in this village in northern Thailand. Do you want to come out and meet them and see some elephants and or potentially help them? So we said, okay, sure, why not? So I extended my trip for a week and took another week off of work for vacation time, and then we went out there and we showed up late one night by the time we got out there, and we're in one of the villagers in their home, and we had our sleeping bags and sleeping mat. We'd sleep on the floor of their homes. They're so welcoming. I mean, you've seen the people, they're just unbelievable. Yeah. And so, we show up, and then all of a sudden people start trickling into this house, and Maria and I are looking at each other like, okay, what's going on here? Yeah, exactly. And we don't speak Karen. They speak Karen, their language. And so we use Yo as our interpreter. And so we're sitting there, and all of a sudden we look around, and I have my notepad out. I took notes of everything. I have everything, in a file now, which is fun for me to look back on. But there were about 16 villagers who showed up at like 10 o'clock at night. It was hysterical. And then we just start talking about the elephants that they had working in the city. And this is where, on that first trip, I learned so much. And I think that there's been kind of this thought that elephant owners are bad people. And the fact of the matter is that they're not at all. They are just as exploited as the elephants are themselves. So in talking with the people and seeing, I mean, it's a visceral feeling that you can have when you talk to these people. They've had elephants in their families for centuries. This is how they were raised. Like you or I might have a dog at home, they have elephants, right? So in that moment, it was like, okay, I felt the gravity of and the importance of this conversation we were having with them. So we wake up the next morning, walk around the village, and Maria and I are saying, okay, we're going to help how we can, right? I had no idea it was going to turn into a nonprofit. We had no idea any of this was going to happen. I thought that maybe we would, go over and spend some time with them every year or donate some money to them. We had no idea at the time. And so we're walking around, and then we go back into Chiang Mai, and we're having dinner one night, and I look at Maria and I say, I think we can really do this. And she says, yeah, I think so. Let's do it. And, we didn't know what let's do it meant at that time.
Let's do something.
And, yeah, exactly. Let's do something. And I remember being on Instagram and putting stories up on my personal account saying, hey, if we were to do some sort of elephant project, what names do you like for this project? And I had my friends voting in and suggesting different names for the project. And we that's really how we started. This was like an organic, it's just so funny looking back on this now, because we didn't start the project with the intention of actually starting it. And I have always dreamt of helping elephants and having some role in conservation and animal welfare. I'm a huge animal lover, and I believe that we should be protecting those who are most vulnerable. It's very important to me. So I knew I always wanted to do something. I wasn't sure how that was going to pan out. And then once we got over there, it was like, okay, I'm in. I was at a point in my life where I was single and I could just go for it, dump everything into Never Forget. So that's kind of the long-winded short version of how we got started.
It's amazing because we're talking about like just a little over a year, right, in terms of time. And what a huge amount that you've accomplished in such a short space of time. So, I want to like just talk about that a little bit more. What's been the biggest challenge for you over like the first year and a bit of Never Forget?
Yeah, so it's a good question. People ask this a lot, and it's pretty unusual to not only open a nonprofit, but to open one in a foreign country. That's been, I think, navigating that piece of the project and the work that's been the most challenging piece. Not knowing, you know, the ins and outs. In the US, it's a different culture and we can navigate it a little bit easier. But in opening a nonprofit in a foreign country has been a really cool process to go through. That's been the biggest challenge, I would say, because some have said, well, you know, what about supporters, gaining supporters? Is that something that's been a challenge? And I don't look at it that way. I look at this is all just happening as it should. As people want to come visit us, it's because they want to be there and they want to support the mission. So once we put that out there, I believe that you get what you give in life. And when we put that message out there, we get really a lot of love and compassion back to us. So just to go back to your question, I think the biggest challenge has been navigating the cultural differences, you know, being an American and setting up a charity in Thailand has been a challenge. But we have a great team over there who's been helping with everything. So so it's been a good learning experience for us.
For sure. And on the flip side of that, what do you think has been the biggest accomplishment for the team since you started?
Yeah, that's so this is hard to choose. One thing I think that if I have to say, we're tied for there are two who are tied for the first place on this.
Yeah, you can have two.
Okay, good. The fact that we have 14 elephants at the project now, 14 lives, you know, I think when we're in this space of animal welfare, we sometimes forget that we talk about the bigger message here about the elephants, but when we get down to the nitty-gritty, these are 14 individuals. And just like you and I have different experiences in our lives, they have different experiences too, and they have different trauma, they have different things that they have gone through, and being able to impact their lives in such a meaningful way, giving them what is, I mean, in a perfect world, we wouldn't even be doing this work, right? But giving them what is most precious to them, their lives, and protecting that, you know, that's why we show up and do this work. There isn't anything more rewarding than that. It's all about the elephants, and it's about the community and changing the dialogue around elephant captivity in Thailand. So that's really like our really big accomplishment. And then with that also comes the fact that we put ourselves out there. You know, we didn't know if people would respond to our message and to the spirit that we have here at Never Forget. And I have just been blown away. I mean, I'm continually blown away by people who have called and written and you know, sent emails of support, and the dozens of people who showed up in Thailand for us this past year, you know, is just unbelievable. And our donors and supporters and everyone who is in our corner is just, that's also just, we can't, it's impossible for us to do this work without them. So that's really like, it's just this all-encompassing success that we feel between the elephants and the supporters, and what that means to the community. These people get a piece of their culture back, you know. It's when logging was banned in 1989, that's when elephants were sent into the cities, and that's where this whole tourism idea started. And that's when really the exploitation of elephants as well as their owners started. And to be able to restore elephants to a time before that happened, and to get them back into their natural habitat. I mean, elephants eat 20 hours a day. 18 to 20 hours a day. So if you can imagine, you know, for us, could you imagine being chained up in a city and then asked to go down to the water and bathe 5, 6 times a day and be a prop, you know? So the biggest success is restoring them and being in this community of people who also have compassion and love for them and want the best for the elephants and for our community.
Definitely. And you mentioned about kind of changing the dialogue for captive elephants in Thailand. I was going to ask about, you know, what do you think the biggest problem is at the moment that faces these captive elephants in the country?
Yeah, I think that I mean, you've seen it being in Chiang Mai. What do you see when you're there? You see all the signs for, hey, this is ethical, right?
Loads. Yeah, there's
Loads
loads
of them.
Every street you walk down, there are these little kind of shops and stuff that are saying, come visit our sanctuary, or you know, come visit this place, we're really ethical and we don't let you ride them. But as you said, it's still, they're maybe getting bathed 5, 6 times a day, or they're chained up, or they're being forced to do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. Yeah, that was pretty shocking to me, actually, when I saw that.
Yeah, it's hard when you're walking through Chiang Mai, seeing that and wanting to kind of rip your hair out and say, this is not ethical, you know. So I think the biggest challenge that the elephants face right now is just the fact that the tourists are also exploited in this situation. The tourists have no idea, and I fell prey to it as well. And you know, you think that you're doing something ethical, but and what does ethical actually mean, right? It's such a subjective term. What ethical means to me may be different for you. But I think that the fact that these tourists are being taken advantage of in this environment poses a huge problem for elephants in Thailand, because at our core, we want to do good, right? Human beings, we want to do the right thing, and we want to believe that we're contributing to something that is positive. And you know, this whole notion of not riding elephants, but it's okay to bathe with them, right? It's the same thing. You're replacing riding with bathing. And so I think this idea that that when you're walking through, and just the advertising that you see when you're there and online as well, I think the biggest thing that tourists can do is, if they do choose to go to places that are ethical, you know, ask what happens to those elephants after tourists leave. Look around and see if you're around trees or something, you can see where the chains go around the trees where the elephants are tied up after you leave. So these places where, even if tourists think that, oh, I'm going to go to a place that bathes them, it's okay because they're not being ridden. Well, in reality, it's actually the same thing, because they're used as a prop for entertainment. They're taken down to the water. They don't have access to the natural food. They can't forage, and their socialization structure is completely messed up. Nothing is natural about that. And it's like you or I being given rice and potatoes and Oreos every day for 5 times a day, and then we're brought down and we're taking a bath multiple times a day. It's just crazy to think about that, right? So I think the biggest challenge right now is getting through and cutting through that noise and trying to get that message out there that I want to challenge the conversation to start thinking about, well, what happens when I'm not here? I really want to know what happens. And I've gone into places and I've seen what happens when people are not there. I've been kicked out of places at night. So I have seen what goes on behind the curtain. And I think challenging the conversation to have us talk about that, rather than, oh, you know, this is the experience that I get to go do bathing them, this is so fun for me. I think we need to restructure the conversation. Like, what does that mean to that elephant? That elephant was a mother. She might be force bred. Her baby is taken from her. There's nothing natural about this.
Mhm.
We just need to leave them alone, protect them, leave them alone, let them do their thing.
Yeah,
So
for sure,
that's,
for sure. And I
yeah.
think you talk about some of the like natural behaviors and things that elephants would do that they don't get a chance to do when they're in these kind of tourist camps and stuff. And one of the things that really struck me just watching the elephants at the Never Forget project is just how amazing they are at problem solving. You
Yeah.
know, when you watch elephants foraging, like you were saying, and they eat for like 18, 20 hours a day, which is, I could probably do that.
I know,
But like,
elephants are my spirit animal too, but yes.
yeah, but I was just I was so fascinated about how clever they are, you know, how well they're able to problem solve, and things like you'd see one of the girls in the herd pull out a root and it would have loads of mud and dirt on the bottom, and she'd smack it against her leg to get the dirt off before eating it, and that kind of stuff is just, it's amazing. And to, you know, to witness that is just so, it's so great. And then to think that they don't get the opportunity to do those simple things when they're in these places is just really, really sad.
Yeah,
So
and in those moments too, like the problem solving that you talk about, I think about too. I remember the one moment when it was towards the end of your visit with us, and Momo Lo and Bonnie Pa, they were over on the other. Remember, there was a valley, and they were over on the other side of the hillside, and we were
yeah,
on that very steep area.
yeah, I remember.
And yeah, and looking across and seeing how steep that was for them. And she was there doing so many things at the same time. This is what's so fascinating to me. She's with her new baby on this steep hillside. And I remember we're all like, you know, holding on to things to like
Yeah,
stay up there, remember? And I remember we were talking about this, the problem solving, but the amount of mental stimulation that she's getting in that moment. She's thinking about her baby. She's making sure, remember, they lift their leg in a way that the baby can go under.
yeah,
So she's not only balancing herself, she's balancing her baby, making sure her baby's safe, eating and moving all at the same time.
it's
You
amazing.
know,
Yeah, it's just, they're such magnificent and intelligent creatures.
yeah,
And it's fascinating, like you say, just to watch them. And I only wish that, you know, when you talk about tourists and kind of challenging the mindsets and that sort of stuff, I wish everyone got the opportunity to see elephants as we've seen them. And
mm-hmm.
that's obviously, as you said, part of the Never Forget mission, is to help people see what we see and what elephants
Yeah,
should be like when they're,
yeah.
so
Yeah,
good.
because
Yeah,
it's also, you know, if you look at it as an experience too, that we are so lucky to be on this planet with elephants. So why wouldn't we want to be with them on their terms and like really learn about elephants and their, as elephants are supposed to be, you know, like that's what I find to be interesting. You know, I personally have no desire to go and bathe an elephant. I when I was little, before we knew better, I have ridden an elephant, you know, and I look back on that and I talk to my parents about that too. It's like we didn't know, you know, I grew up going to SeaWorld, but now we know better, right? So that's what is I think challenging the kind of the status quo. This whole thing of bathing and going to ethical places now is kind of becoming like, oh, you know, the cool thing to do when you go to Thailand. And I think challenging that conversation and asking people to really look behind the curtain is the biggest challenge right now. But they're just incredible beings. So I encourage people who, you know, don't know where to go and see for yourself. I mean, that's what Yo always tells us, right? Don't take my word for it. Don't take Lara's word for it. Go and learn and see for yourself. And that's when you really make your decisions and how you want to navigate the issue for yourself. That's I think the most important thing.
sure. And you've mentioned a few times now about community. What do you think the role is of community in terms of Never Forget, I guess, both local and global?
Yeah, so our community, and for those who are listening who have visited us, they know what this means. You know, you've seen Da and Tigimo, and you know, I spend time in the kitchen with our staff, and it's we sit around and we show our pictures, and we laugh and we cry, and we don't speak the same language, but I've never had so much conversation with someone. It's heart to heart in our community, and these people are our family, and I miss them immensely right now. I talk with Yo just about every day, our project director on site, and I always say, tell everyone I miss them. We all miss them. I was talking with him last night, and I said, does Da like remembers all the recipes, right? Like she's all good, and he laughed. So the community is just where the heartbeat is of this organization. We would not be where we are without our community. And locally, we have such, it's like a magnet for me. It's terrible being away from them because I just adore them. Every morning we say good morning, we hug each other. At night we say adado, which is good night, sweet dreams. I love you, and see you tomorrow. We hug each other. Like, in what job do you hug your employees and your boss, and you hug each other every day when you go home from work? You know, like, it's just unheard of. But that's the spirit of what we do, and that's the heartbeat of Never Forget. So that community that we have, the small community in the beautiful rolling hills of northern Thailand, also radiates out. And you know, we were talking about before, you get what you give in life. And when it starts like this, and it's such a strong, beautiful place, and the energy around this is such a beautiful thing that radiates out. And the community that we have globally now is just, you know, it's off the charts. It's every corner. We have people who have called and donated, and who just have blown me away continually. So, and it's not possible, you know, it's just not possible for us to do this work without them, and nor would I want to either. That's the other thing, you know. Even if let's say I personally did have the means to do this on my own, there would be, I wouldn't want to either, and it wouldn't be possible. So this is really the common denominator through everything that we do at Never Forget is about community, for sure.
It's back to like what you said at the beginning as well, around team, right? It's
Yeah.
this whole, we're better when we're together, as you said.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, I mean, what did you see when you experienced when you came over, and what was your experience in seeing the community?
You know, one of the things that I remember really distinctly is you talking about how everyone shares everything in the community. Yes. He says it's no problem. If I want to borrow someone's motorbike, I'll borrow it, because they know I'll bring it back. And everyone's really trusting and genuine. And yeah, I just felt like you described it perfectly, just all the love and genuine care that you feel from people. They're so inviting. You know, you get invited into someone's home and you sit, and they're really, like, they'll show you everything that they've made, and it's just the people mm-hmm. at the project in the village are absolutely fantastic. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I can't wait to get back as well, and
I know.
See everyone.
Yeah, it's, you know, they have, by Western standards, they have little material things, right? Yeah. But I have never seen such generosity with their love and their heart, and their compassion, and being so welcoming to us, and mm-hmm. allowing us to do this work, and working together to solve the problem for their elephants, because they want their elephants home. They haven't had any other option. So we're all in it together. That's the mentality.
And so what's next on the horizon?
Oh my gosh. Well, we want to get back to the project as soon as we can. But it is what it is. It's actually, you know, COVID is terrible, and it's been a very big challenge, but we try to look at things glass half full here, and we're looking forward to doing some new things that we wouldn't otherwise have time to do if we were at the project. So the fact that we're starting our YouTube channel is super exciting. I know, Laura, you put up our first Did You Know about elephant feet this morning, which looks great. And so we're getting to do all these cool things. First of all, a few weeks ago, we did a fundraiser and we were able to rescue 4 more elephants, which was completely off the charts as a result of COVID. So that was really exciting. Those elephants were at risk of starvation in the city, and eventually they were going to be sent likely for logging. So we intervened and got those elephants at the project, and big thanks to our donors, and specifically to Diana in Maine in the United States. She showed up big time for us. So I just want to say thanks to Diana for that, and for all of our other supporters who donated towards that. So that was a really big thing. And now Laura, having you on the team too is really a big win. We just did our Trucks for Trunks last weekend. That was so fun. You had fun? Yeah.
So much fun. I mean, one day it was beautiful and sunny, and I loved getting out and trekking. The next day, not so much. It was torrential rain. But yeah, we showed up. It was still good fun. And it was really nice to see, like you said before about community, it was nice to see people from literally so many different cities all over the world, all kind of coming together under one cause and getting out there and raising awareness was just fab.
Yeah, it was so fun. That was so cool. Keeping up with all the social media that day. I know Dee had was working overtime, and Holly working overtime. So that was really fun. We're going to do that again, probably in about 3 months, because that was really fun. And then, you know, we have our podcast now, which is a new exciting thing. Maria, president of our board, was recently on a radio piece. The link is up on our news section of our website. She was on the radio in Hudson Valley, New York. So that was exciting. And then things that are coming. We are going to be starting an auction in mid-June, and we're going to be auctioning off some really unique pieces and some handmade gifts from Never Forget. So that's going to be exciting. And I know one of your favorite meals when you visited us was our fried rice.
Fried rice was so good. Like, yes. I would eat that every day if I could. It was so great.
That's Holly's fried rice. And what we do at the project is we'll put that in banana leaves, take that out, and we have compostable packaging, and we have lunch in the jungle with the elephants. So we're going to try to recreate that experience a little bit. And we're going to do a cooking demo. I think we have that scheduled for June 12, Saturday. We'll be talking about it on our social media too. So that'll be really fun to do that and make fried rice together. We'll go live and let you guys know the ingredients that you need so you can cook along with us. So that'll be super fun. So we just have, you know, some new ways that we can engage together and connect together while we're not at the project, and continue sharing the story about the elephants and really raising awareness for what they face in Thailand. That's kind of what we're focused on, and just this navigating together through this COVID time too. You know, it's difficult for all of us, and we hope that the work that we're doing also brings a smile to people's faces, and they know that the donation and anything that comes our way goes right back to the elephants. So you have a direct impact. And I think that knowing, like, I volunteer my time, I give my time to this organization, and it makes me feel good that we're all doing something that has nothing to do with us. This is for the elephants. So so that's kind of what's coming.
Awesome. Well, I think that's probably all we've got time for today. Sad. But thank you so much for listening. Ava, massive thank you for being such a great first guest for the podcast as well.
Oh my gosh, thank you. This was super fun. I hope we can do this again.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah, this was fun. Thanks for having me on.
No problems. Until next time, keep rumbling.